Thanks for staying with us. Don't forget you can share your stories with us on Your View at tvccommunications.tv. It's important for you to send your stories. We'd love to hear from you so that we can share real life stories and see how we can also help you in getting some insights and also from Nigerians on your issues. Okay, we're going to start now with the nation. Federal government begins reform to end 20 trillion naira yearly tax loss. Pope cautions on dangers of artificial intelligence. CBN hits Niger rep junta with sanctions. APC defends president's choice of ministers. Resident doctors set to end strike. And Fountain of Life pastor Taiwo Odukoya dies at 67. Zenith Bank signs MOU with African Development FTA on the trade promotion. Okay, let me start with the major headlines. So we all read it in the papers that the president had inaugurated the Presidential Tax Reforms Committee, and the chairman is Mr. Taiwo Oyedele. He was saying that he said that we're losing about 20 trillion naira worth of taxes. According to him, we lose the tax was mainly attributable to the evasion and inefficiency of the collection process. He said if you get everyone that needs to pay their taxes to pay, we will not be where we are today. So we think that the gap is somewhere between the region of 20 trillion naira. And the president specifically said that the consequences of the ongoing failure of our tax regime are real and they are significant. The inability of the government to efficiently raise revenue has led directly to over-reliance on borrowing to finance public spending. And he said that the government cannot properly fund itself unless we are able to increase our revenue. So he wants to stop the continuous payment of debt as we are paying our debt from borrowing. So we can't continue to do that. So hopefully this new team are able to provide, he has given them timelines, what he wants immediately, what he wants in 6 months, and what he wants within a year. So hopefully there's some kind of...
Maybe we could just throw in a timeline for him too. We Nigerians still want to know how soon it would reduce the size of government so that when we start paying tax to cover the burden of Nigeria, we are not putting money into people's pockets unnecessarily. We're putting money into infrastructure and governance.
Well, certain regions are asking for more representation, so you might have to increase governance. And also, Ajero spoke to him recently, and he said that he lives in a 2-bedroom apartment. So we'll see how that goes. But let's take another story in the nation. Any other story in the nation?
Yes, I do have a story. Okay, you don't have one. So there are 2 men claiming to be victims of job racketeering at the Federal Character Commission. They met the House of Representatives ad hoc committee investigating illegal employment rings in federal agencies, and they're asking the FCC they're asking that the House of Reps should prevail on the EFCC to please give them the jobs that they paid for. So there are 2 victims. There's an Abdul Malik Isa Ahmed and Ali Mohammed Yaro. They had paid 1 million naira and 2 million naira each for their appointment letters. They said that they had been waiting to be posted and given specific responsibilities. They didn't get that, but eventually, you know, they said beginning of this year, they started receiving their salaries. And in the course of, explaining how it happened, Ahmed explained that he's the first out of 21 children to have graduated from his family. He had graduated, 11 years, no job. And when he was approached, for this, he thought it was the right thing to do, and he gave money for this. And now, and they had gone, so now they were waiting for them to be, he said there are about 27 of them, and they were waiting for them to be posted and given specific responsibilities. And they were afraid to even ask too much because it would look like an affront to the FCC. But here they are today trying to, at least know what has happened to their money. And they're like, we paid for this, we need our money back, or we need the job. Anyway, our country, there are too many things.
So,
yes,
Pope Francis has warned against the use of AI. He said even though for many years he didn't know how to use a computer, let me just say, Pope Francis is 86 years old, but the reason for his warning, which is ahead of the Catholics' Vatican, there's an event, Peace Day. It was with the idea of saying that we don't want the AI to affect the people that are fragile and excluding people from opportunities. He also mentioned the fact that we must as we are working on this artificial intelligence, we must do it in a responsible way that reflects ethics, and we should understand that it can be dangerous. Then the article highlighted the fact that in 2020, the Vatican partnered with Microsoft and IBM to promote the ethical development of AI, and it is to help with regulation of intrusive technology, such as facial recognition. And I think AI is something that should worry us, but we should worry from the perspective of how best to harness it so that it doesn't become a criminal tool, but an advantage to help us achieve more.
Yes, so NARD set to end strike after 2 weeks. The striking members are set to call off their 2-week strike. So there was a closed-door meeting yesterday with the Senate President Godswill Akpabio and other principal officers of the upper chamber yesterday in Abuja. And so the conversation was that they had tabled their request to the Senate President, and he said that he's very hopeful that when he and the other representatives, when they table their discussions before the council today, something positive would come out of it. And then the resident doctors too are ready to call off their strike. And hopefully at the end of today, they will be able to call off their strike.
Okay, let's move on quickly now to the Punch. Niger, ECOWAS plans fresh sanctions on Burkina Faso, Mali, and UN talks fail. Tinubu set a 30-day tax reform target. UI student mixed panel. Father blames hospital for elevator death, doctor buried. Edo PDP sues for peace between Obaseki and deputy. Tinubu Sanwo-Olu church members mourn as Pastor Odukoya dies. 120 billion naira debt, banks offer telcos repayment plan. And Labour rejects Gbajabiamila on subsidy negotiations, right National Assembly. Okay, which story starting in the Punch?
I'll just take the human interest. So remember the late Dr. Diaso, the doctor that died in the elevator. She was laid to rest on Tuesday. Reporters spoke with the heartbroken father, and for him, he says he blames the hospital management. He says there's still inconsistencies in the reports that were given to him. He said one said she died in the elevator, another said she wasn't dead and was rushed to the hospital, and then the report that she did not get blood, he says it does not make sense for him. He felt that she was killed, that this is beyond negligence, because at the amount of blood that she lost, how would you now take someone like that to hospital and say that you could not get blood? He was asked if he would take legal actions. He said that this time will tell.
Let me take the story concerning Labour's meeting with the Senate. So the NLC had gone to the Senate to have a meeting because they were quite worried. Actually, this meeting was scheduled long ago, about 2 weeks ago. So Labour was saying that they rejected the Chief of Staff, that's Femi Gbajabiamila, being the one to negotiate on behalf of the President or the federal government on the palliatives after subsidy removal. According to them, the Chief of Staff has been too busy to call for a meeting, adding that the President had wage award committee has yet to be to have a meeting after 2 whole months that they were inaugurated. The Labour leaders were in the Senate to actually discuss with the leadership and see if they can help push the President to fast-track the plans on palliative. They were saying that, according to Ajero specifically, we were saying that 3,000 buses are too small. If the government has saved 1 trillion naira in 2 months, why can't the government channel this money to tackle alternatives? The Senate President, on the other hand, however, said that because we save 1 trillion naira doesn't mean that we don't have 30 trillion naira debt. That government who has other things, obligations across board, and local and foreign debts are still in the government's portfolio, even though either way, he will still talk to the President to see how they can fast-track on the palliatives as has been promised earlier by the federal government.
So I have a story. Tinubu Sanwo-Olu church members mourn as Pastor Odukoya dies at 67. So the President, through the Special Advisor of Media and Publicity, and the Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, through the Chief Press Secretary, have sent their condolences to the family and the church of Pastor Odukoya. And the article goes on to highlight that Pastor Odukoya has lost his wife first, his first wife, and Pastor Bimbo. A lot of people know Pastor Bimbo in 2005 through a plane crash, Sosoliso Airline, and then lost his second wife again, Pastor Nomthi, in 2021 through cancer. and now this is happening. So it's a really sad one, and we send our condolences to the families and the church at large.
So the update from the Senate, many people have been looking forward to getting details about who is going to emerge as chair of some committees and
juicy committees.
Yes, and I'm starting with one of the juiciest one, which is going to someone who cried in the last time that Nigeria and politics hasn't been fair to him. But the former governor of Abia State, Oju Kalu, has emerged the chairman of the Committee on Privatization.
Is that juicy?
Is that juicy?
Privatization, they're the ones selling everything now.
Anything that doesn't have petroleum in it is not.
No, Nigeria is selling right now.
Okay. I hear juicy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the hidden money that we don't see.
Oh, gosh.
Okay.
So, former Senator Lawan also got to be the chairman Committee of Defense, while former governor of Zamfara State got to be chairman of Water Resources, and former minority leader got to be chairman of Power, while the ex-governor of Sokoto State got to be...
Ogun State got Navy. Did all the old
as in former... Oh, exactly. I wanted to be him. I wanted to list former. So you realize that in the Senate, we seem to reward experience. Let me say it in a positive way. Experience. We are rewarding experience.
Moving on now to Daily Sun. Nigerians to pay more tax. Hey, that's how Sun has couched the meeting that they had. Ministerial list reps Deputy Speaker joins senators in seeking more slots for Southeast. President meets Okonjo-Iweala Pate over economy. Pastor Taiwo Odukoya dies at 67 in U.S. Police identify arrest personnel for killing Rivers resident. Resident doctors meet Senate president, may call off strike today. All right, so let me take the ministerial nominees. So while Tokwe is asking government to reduce the cost of governance, the Senate, the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Benjamin Kalu, has requested that the President should increase more slots to the Southeast region in line with the federal character principle. According to him, he commended the President on his choice of ministers so far and said that that he's fulfilling his promise to increase the number of women and youth in the FEC committee, which is great. He's done that. However, we need more slots in the Southeast. So how are we going to marry that with cost of governance?
But they gave double slots to some states. They gave double slots to some states, so...
Abi? They'll remove some people.
It's always nice to say that double slots, they should remove it.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Just give competent people. That's my own.
Yes.
Anyway, the DG for the World Trade Organization, Dr. Okonjo-Iweala, and the Minister-designate, Dr. Ali Pate, visited with the President and, at the presidential villa in Abuja. And while she was speaking, she said that, first of all, this was a quiet visit. It was not an official World Trade Organization mission call. It wasn't official, but that they engaged him on, just how things are going on in Nigeria and the sufferings of Nigeria. And the President told them that he's well aware of the sufferings of Nigeria. She said, we saw the President and focused on how do we support Nigerians at this time. She said their conversation with the President centered around formulating approaches to stimulate job creation, foster women's empowerment, and bolster digital trade within Nigeria's economy. We talked about how, for the longer term, we need to do investment opportunities that Nigerians can seize in the pharmaceutical industry. We're trying to, that World Trade Organization says that there's so many ways also that it can help Nigeria economy going forward. She said it was a good conversation. The President is aware of the sufferings and they're going to work to see how best to take us out of this tough situation. Well done.
Police arrest personnel for killing Rivers residents. So apparently there was this man that went to the bar with his wife and 3 children. So there was an uproar and mobile policemen came and they shot this particular man on close range. Apparently, the article goes on to say that the man was reportedly shot dead at close range in the presence of his wife and 3 children. So people were just suspecting that who would have done this, apparently. So when they found out that it was a mobile police officer, the police now had to arrest him, right? And it's really a sad one because it was his wife that went to make the complaint.
Right. Okay.
Please, the Nigerians
Still
are
in
dying.
Sun?
Yes.
Let's move on to Vanguard.
Nigerians are dying.
Where?
Have you not taken the story in Sun?
The striking.
Have you taken the story in Sun? Yes, you have. Let's move on to Vanguard, please. Federal government's reliance on borrowing. I'm sure that story is in Vanguard. You can take it in Vanguard. We have to move on. Federal government's reliance on borrowing must end, says Tinubu. Strike. Nigerians dying. Federal government begs doctors. Now, Toko, you can take your story. Come on, man. There are rules. Nigerians obey rules. Edo PDP to wade into Obaseki and Shebu rift. Niger coup, ECOWAS ultimatum not Nigeria's mandate. Senate may re-invite El-Rufai to other ministerial nominees. Yes, all right.
Let me take my story. Nigerians are dying. And the truth is, it is actually a truth. The statement came from the permanent secretary to the minister, the permanent secretary for the Ministry of Labour, who has been the one talking to NMA, and that NMA being the Nigerian Medical Association, as well as the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, who are the ones actually on strike. The NMA is just mediating between NAD and the Ministry of Labour. Representing the Ministry of Labour, the permanent secretary, Daju Kachulum, made the appeal in Abuja that the government is doing their best to meet the striking doctors at the point of their needs, but that they should note the fact that several Nigerians are dying due to lack of health care, and that we should put aside the obstacles, both contrived and real, and work towards speedy resolution for a better Nigeria.
Okay.
So
I have a story concerning the 44-year-old woman. Her surname was withheld. Her name is Taiwo. She was arrested by the police in Lagos for allegedly using her niece as a drug courier. Benjamin Hudemi, that's the PPRO of the police in Lagos, paraded the woman. Oh, you took that story already?
No. We're saying they have no conscience. Okay.
Paraded the woman before newsmen on Tuesday at the State Police Command in Ikeja. The police image maker was saying that the suspect was arrested after a good Samaritan found the 10-year-old girl in around Agege area near Penn Cinema. The discovery prompted the further police question, then revealed that this had been going on for a while, so they had to start investigation, and then she's admitted that this girl, she admitted that this had been her way to courier her drugs from house to shop where she sells and beat the police. So they take a little girl, and the girl is the courier.
10-year-old girl,
10-year-old
so that they will not check her.
So the police now check her, exactly.
Wow.
Really, sir, I'm happy to find out.
Yes, so we have the Senate may re-invite El-Rufai and two others. Ministerial nominees, as we remember, Nasser El-Rufai, Kaduna State, Stella Okotete of Delta State, and Abubakar Danladi are yet to be confirmed after their screening. And, you know, they said it has something to do with security. And the Senate is saying that if security is not satisfied, then Senate cannot be satisfied yet. I think we also remember during El-Rufai's performance at the screening, someone had raised an objection saying that there was a petition against him that bordered on security, unity, and cohesiveness of the Nigerian nation. And so I remember Akpabio said that that was not the place to discuss those sort of petitions, that there were other petitions like that against some other nominees. And so that is what they're discussing. Once it is cleared, then they will be re-invited if need be.
10 seconds. I'm not sure you have time. You have a story? Okay, let's move on. All right, that's all we can take on Front Page Review. When we come back, move on to our hot topic of the day. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.